Welcome back to the Eclectic Collection. Today's episode 128, Straight Line Winds. What does that mean, you ask? Yeah, well, let me tell you. I found out the hard way. So in early April of this year, for some reason, there were, I don't know, I thought we were in Noah's Ark. There was just like constant floodings and warnings about floodings and, oh, there's going to be a lot of rain and blah, blah, blah. And had we had the snow that we had in rain, I think we would have been stuck in Antarctica for like 5 years. But it was just an extremely rainy season, and it bled into a bit of the summer too. And it was weird. We'd have these like weeks of drought and hot, and then, weeks of rain. So back in early April, it was seriously raining, and it did it all pretty much through April and May. And I usually don't pay too much attention, other than obviously I'm driving or something. But I was home, and it was the weekend that the storm fell, and this one particular storm, they kind of thought it might be a tornado. We kept getting advisory warnings and all this kind of stuff. So I was home anyway, so I wasn't too worried about it. And thankfully I have a generator, so if things do go out, I could, have my the power and everything back. But it was not going to stop Mother Nature from knocking down, potentially more than power lines. So you might have, internet, no cable, no phone, like whatever was going on. And that storm was no exception. What's weird, though, is that despite the huge chasmic space that it was supposed to occupy, it got very narrowed into just my area. And so much so that it was just my township. And instead of the tornado, which thankfully didn't happen, it turned into straight lined winds. I've never heard anything called that before, but straight line winds are essentially massive gale force winds with driving rain in just a very straight path of a certain width. It's pretty small, actually. So it blew through in just my area, pretty much up and down like one particular set of streets that wasn't much more than half a mile long. And it hit maybe like a radius of less than a mile, but all of those houses had troubles and down power lines and trees and debris. And it was very, very windy, gale force winds, very heavy, like a tornado, but not a tornado, and much like a tropical storm. I mean, it was insane. And it rained very heavily, pouring torrential crazy for over 12 hours. It started late as just a drizzle, probably around 11:30, 12 o'clock on a Friday or Thursday night. And it started into what would turn into, and I happened to be off anyway because it was spring break. I teach, so I was home for that week, and it was right before Easter, and it got so bad that from Thursday night into Friday, it rained and rained and rained and rained, and it rained so much that things were flooding. Water was coming in the basement door, which that has not happened like ever, and the top of the chimney blew away. Trees fell down, uprooted. It was so wet and saturated in the ground. Crashed through my neighbor's fence. Tons and tons of debris in the backyard. Tree branches, limbs everywhere. Stuff just wickedly thrown around. Stuff all over the cars. Hail. All sorts of dents and crazy from that. And lightning strikes constantly. And unfortunately, it knocked the power out. So like I said, I have a generator to put the power back on. But when it did, it didn't kick everything back on because stuff had just fried. I lost 32 of the surge protectors in the house. Luckily, they fried, and I got paranoid because everything started to smell like smoke, and I thought there were just fires everywhere. So I just started pulling them. My dishwasher was blown up. My entire phone system was blown up. Yes, I still have a landline phone. Hello, gotta be zombie apocalypse ready. Who do you think Rick was talking to in the basement of the prison? You always have to have a landline. Phones were completely eradicated. Luckily, my computers lived. Surge protectors did not. Lots of little bulbs and things blew. Had to have the entire electrical system reworked. A couple lines blew, a couple wires blew. We had a complete, like 3 or 4 fuses just went. A lot of breakers flipped. All the GFIs went. So we were constantly resetting everything. And by the time we got to the flip side of the rain, not so bad. Still raining, but nowhere near the torrential flooding part. At one point, I had Pico in the backyard with Verizon in the backyard with the fire department because wires were down and sparking and they were starting to catch fire within the debris that was left on the ground. It was pretty spooky. Luckily, so I had to put a big claim in and everything, and lost parts of the air conditioner, lost parts of clocks, lamps, things I didn't think would be bothered. And we were without power 40 hours. And I want to say it was about 5 days that we had no internet, maybe 5 or 6 days no internet, which also ended up frying, and I had to get new FiOS put in, like the new actual piece on the wall. I had to buy new phones, but the phone system wasn't back up for about 4 days through Verizon, and then the cable came back first, which was ironic. Comcast probably was like 2 days later, but the whole system was wacko, and everything nearby, all my neighbors were in trouble. And yet, people that were in the next town over were like, I don't know, it avoided us. I love a good thunderstorm in the summer to just kind of watch and listen and get a kick out of a lightning strike or two. But this was like fire, brimstone, crazy, and it's funny, like what a difference a day makes. So I can only say to be prepared, and if nothing else, make sure you've got some candles and some lighters and some matches around. Maybe not out all the time, but like in an accessible spot. And please don't ever use any kind of like propane or anything in the side. Very bad idea. You always want to have. I mean, it was summer, so we were okay, but maybe have blankets and things if it is wintertime. Just have a couple of. I always have some sort of little things with snacks and stuff like a Rice Krispie treat or like a granola bar or something if you have to grab something quick and you can't get into your fridge. The worst thing you do is open your fridge and freezer if you are trying to preserve food and your power's out. Like I said, we're lucky in the sense of a generator, and I can't recommend that enough. I mean, I'm not, I'm no influencer and I'm not paid for any of this, but I would highly recommend Weaver Briggs and Stratton that I bought just through Home Depot years ago, and I would highly recommend it. I bought a big unit so that I could tie every single thing in my house to it, had the electrician come out and run it through the Pico line so that if I want to turn on any light or anything, I have it. Not just refrigerators, air conditioning, and heat, and pumps, but everything. So it's definitely worth the investment. And there's Generac and all that stuff out there. Frankly, I looked into it and did the research. I think they're wildly overpriced because you have to use only a Generac service person, and that's all fine, but it turns out that they actually do less work, are smaller generators, have more expense, and you're getting less bang for your buck. So go get an old school like a GE or Briggs and Stratton that is, you can get a pull start with very inexpensively that has oil in it, and you just pull it, but it still has to sit outside. It's loud. It's running on gas or oil, and you got to go out and plug certain things into it. Not safe and not a thing you want to, have to do. Within 90 seconds, my entire house lights back up, and it was worth every penny. So I would definitely say, especially I have an elderly mom, so I definitely would, one time that we were in a bad way, and it was the snow, and it was the snow had taken everything out, and she was freezing, and it was horrible, and I was like, nope, never doing that again. So you definitely want to make sure that you maybe look into that. It's worth it. If you're going to make a home improvement, it's definitely worth that. There are lots of different options, and depends on the size of your house and what you want to put on the power load, but you can definitely do that, and I highly recommend it. But storms coming out of nowhere, I don't know. It was almost apocalyptic. I can say that whatever's going on, for whatever reason, I don't know, call it fate, weirdness, we're just acting like fools these days, global warming, whatever you want to call it, whatever the situation or why ever it's happening, and I don't really care to argue. It's just not good, and it's one thing's for sure. It's all getting worse and more often. You see more and more floods. You see more and more droughts. You see more and more fires. You see more and more tsunamis. You see more and more hurricanes, tornadoes. We never had tornadoes in the Northeast area, ever. That was like something that happened in Kansas. We never had earthquakes. In the last 10 years, we've had 2 small earthquakes, one that actually hit like some epicenter I didn't even know existed. And now we're having tornadoes like pretty regularly. Even if they're small, they're still decimating places. So that's got me concerned. It's not like it's anything you can stop either, because it's Mother Nature. So just be careful, and if you're going to watch the rain, have a plan. That's all I could say. I miss the days of just a happy little tea storm in the summer afternoon, but no such luck. If you liked what you heard today, then check out eclecticcollectionpodcast.com or follow us on your preferred platform. I'm Terry Tenaglia. Thanks for listening.